Hello my dears, it's Katie and I'm here today to talk to you about BookTube, my relation to BookTube, and the future of this channel. So before I do all of that though, I do want to point out, in case you haven't already noticed, yes, I am in a slightly different location. I kind of have to be. I broke my foot at the end of December, so things have been a little bit harder to do, including filming. So I actually do have a few videos in the works, hopefully soon, but they're going to be a lot later than they normally would be. So just so you're aware, there are going to be some things that normally would come out at the beginning of the year that are going to be coming out probably in like March sometime, February, I'm not sure when, but they're coming out at some point when I am better and able to do more things. But anyway, that's not quite why we're here today. I want to talk to you guys about something that has been on my mind for a while. If you don't remember, last year I did a BookTube has changed the way I read or something video. I don't know, I'll link it somewhere. But then I also did that other video where I talked about my experiences on BookTube. I think that was like maybe 2 years ago at this point, back when I got 100 subscribers during that like week-long thing. So I figured it was about time for me to update you on some of the things that I talked about in those videos and just kind of let you know where I'm at now and what I'm thinking about going forward and just what I've been thinking about in general. So this is going to be a really chatty video. Just relax. So lately I've been feeling very almost disconnected from the community. I've been really struggling just across the board. And I mean, yeah, last year was just rough across the board. I've been having like no motivation to do anything, and I've just been struggling to read and put out content in the first place. I kind of touched on that a little bit in my like life and channel update video that I did back in October of last year. And I told you I was going to be putting out less content and focusing on myself, and that is still very, very true. But I wasn't quite honest with myself as to what that meant at the time. And at the time, I might have been thinking one thing, but now I'm thinking something else, especially since I've had a lot of time to reflect, like over the last bit. I mean, last year was a big reflection year for me anyway, but then just the last couple of weeks in particular with being very limited with what I could do in general has also made me really think about a lot of things. So this year is going to be kind of an exploration year for me. I found that I don't really like anything that I'm doing, right? So what that means is, like, I like to do a lot of things. I'm a very multi-interest person. Like, it's not just books for me, it's a whole slew of other things. But lately I've been finding that I don't enjoy virtually anything. So this year is going to be me reevaluating what it is I actually like and want to continue to pursue, and maybe trying some new things, bar the things that I like doing outside in groups, because that you can't just do that right now. And there are just other things that I can't quite do at the moment because it's just hard for a variety of reasons. But the things that I enjoy doing in the inside and, you know, just as a fun, relaxing activity, I need to refigure out what I actually enjoy and maybe figure out what I'm going to let go and whatever. And that's not saying that I'm going to stop reading, because that's not possible. Like, I read a lot for my job and I do enjoy reading for fun. But as I was going through the year last year, I was just starting to realize like what that actually means. What does reading for fun mean to me now? And I've come to the conclusion that like all of the YouTube pressure and just bookish community pressure there is to read and to put out content and do all of that, like read as much as you possibly can, participate in like 25 readathons or whatever, has really started to suck the joy out of reading for me. And I was putting all of these self-imposed deadlines on myself, and it's really starting to impact me and the way that I just function across the board. And so I'm just trying to figure out what I am going to do going forward. And so one thing that I've been really doing and really enjoying and has been really like a big thing for me for enjoyment purposes is to buddy read certain books with my closer YouTube friends and do it in such a way where it's not just reading. Like for instance, I've been reading the Realm of the Elderling series, or rereading in my case, with Vendi. And the way that we buddy read it is we delve into it in a deeper way, so we get more out of the reading experience than just read it and done. I've been finding that I enjoy reading more when I delve into a book further than just, okay, I read it in a week, now I'm done, because I'm just getting a richer experience out of it. And when I'm reading it with someone and able to talk about my thoughts in a comprehensive way, that really, really enhances my reading experience just across the board. So I've been really enjoying our buddy reads lately. It's a similar thing with Kara. I've been doing some like loose buddy reads with her, like low pressure, low stress, and just reading for fun. And I've been finding that when I do that, I tend to enjoy what I'm reading more. Because I can tell you that by the end of last year, I was either feeling very middle of the road, meh about several of the books, or just downright not enjoying myself. Like I just felt a certain pressure, whether it was from just BookTube in general or from my own self impositions of like, hey, you have to finish this by so and such time, was just really stressing me out and really wasn't working for me. So one of the things that I'm going to be doing going forward is just being very, very relaxed. Like, if you guys haven't seen my loose goals video thing that I did at the end of last year, my Goodreads challenge has been set for 2 books, and that's it. And I'm for sure going to be reading more than that, but I'm just making more of an effort that not just quality over quantity, but quality of the way I'm reading over the quantity of what I'm reading. And that's also something that I'm going to be doing as well, because like at the, I don't know, probably like middle of last year, I realized that I want to be a lot more selective with what I read, because either not everything interests me or not everything is just something that I want to read or whatever, but it's like I still want to check this out and try it. And that's why I started implementing my samples, because it's like I am still intrigued by this book, but I don't know if it's a for sure read for me. And I want to continue implementing that at some various points throughout the year, just so I can get my samples list down, because it has grown exponentially. It's quite large, so we'll see. And then I've also limited my TBR of like these are the books that I want to read sooner rather than later. I've only got like 8 or 9 books on there right now. And it'll be a lot less as time goes on, I'm sure. And then like my goal is to get down to 0 by the end of the year on that, so then I can just start off the year fresh, but like just putting less pressure on myself to do everything. And so I've already mentioned that I'm going to be taking a step back from YouTube, but I haven't quite told you to what extent that is going to be, because I didn't necessarily know at the time, but I am taking a major step back. One thing that I've done in the last couple of weeks is I actually created a book Tumblr for myself. It's something that I've thought about doing for a long time, and I know a lot of people do blogs. I fail at technology. This is something, like, if you know me really well, you know this. Like, I break technology. If you've read Good Omens, I am Newt in pretty much every form. Basically, I just don't know how to do the blog thing. I know there are really easy ways to do it. I just don't have the time to do that. But Tumblr is a platform that I'm really, really familiar with. And I just feel like I can express myself over there in a different way than I can here. Because while I am a very verbal person and I do express myself better by talking and explaining things verbally, I can't do some of the things here that I can do over there. Like I can share certain memes and be more part of certain fandom aspects of bookish community stuff over there. And I'm still going to be writing my reviews on Goodreads and the Storygraph, but I'm also going to be putting my reviews there as well. So if you guys are on there and you want to follow me there, that'd be awesome, but you don't have to. But another thing that I'm doing is, instead of doing like tags, and if I am doing a TBR or just like a recommendations sort of thing, I'm going to be doing all of those things over there. And it won't be like a very in-your-face kind of a thing. I've only got queued like maybe one post a day, unless I'm doing a specific post. And so if you guys want to check those out, I'll leave the link to that down below. I'm taking part in the Polathon that's going on. I think by the time that I posted this, we're in the middle of it. So I'm loosely taking part in that, and so we'll see what ends up happening, but I'm really excited because polar fantasy is a thing that I've actually started to realize that I really love. Like I never knew that was like a term before, but I love it. But anyway, off on a tangent. So I'm going to be doing, as I said, the majority of my posting for things over there. But I do have a few things that I'm going to be posting here, doing this project with Kara. So I'm going to be doing various different things across the spectrum related to that project. That'll be coming, I don't know, probably March sometime, and then continue periodically throughout the year. And then I also have planned my books I got for the holidays video, which is one of the videos I alluded to at the beginning of this, where I be posting some things late that would normally happen earlier in the year. My holidays extend into the middle of January anyway, but this year, because I didn't have time to film it when I wanted to and how I wanted to, it's going to be a bit more delayed than normal. Anyway, so those are some of like the loose plans, but then also just talking a little bit about my just relationship with the community. I've been feeling very disconnected, like lately, and I know quite a few people have talked about this, but view counts are way down, just across the board. And I know in December, it's normally, I guess, normal for the view counts to be down because everyone's doing like some various holiday themed like video month thing, like Bookmas, for example. And like that's fine, but like since the middle of last year, view counts have just been dropping like flies. And normally that's not something I pay attention to, but videos get very few views anyway. Like I'm very small. I talk about that a fair bit. I probably shouldn't anymore. But because of that, like it really is demoralizing as a creator when people don't interact with the content, whether it's commenting or it's just watching or just interacting in general with it, because it's like, I know that I do, and several of my other friends and several other creators I know, we put a lot of time in our content. The planning, to the filming, to the editing, to captioning, if you do that, all of that takes a lot of time to do. So when people aren't interacting, it's just really discouraging. And it almost makes you question, like, why do I do this? And I've had those thoughts for a while now. And periodically, like sometimes I'm just like, yeah, I don't care that much. Other times I'm like, wait, actually I do care quite a bit. And I'm like, why? Why do I care about that? Because it shouldn't really matter. But weirdly enough, it does matter. And so just, it's making me think about what I'm gonna do. Like I've even had a couple of times I'm like, if I deleted my channel, like two or three people would care, and that's it. Like it doesn't matter, you know? Like I do this as a hobby, but, you know, at the same time, it's like I'd like to be recognized for the stuff that I do a little bit. But then, you know, I sit back and I think about it and I'm like, wait, there are actually pros and cons to being both a big and a small YouTuber. Because, like, the small ones, you get less hate comments. Like, I don't get hate comments. Do I occasionally get spam? Yeah, but it's pretty uncommon. Whereas, like, if you're a bigger YouTuber, like, people are always up in your personal business and people want to know, like, all kinds of stuff and they're very demanding and whatever. So I think, like, in some ways, being, like, maybe a medium YouTuber is probably the best way to go. I don't know. But yeah, it's just discouraging sometimes, because it's like, you know, I make this content not only because I'm interested in making it, but because I want to share it with other people and find other people to talk about it with. And when you don't get that, it's like, well, I'm not talking to myself, so is there a point for me even making this? But so part of this year is going to be me figuring out, as I said, what I even like doing and just reevaluating what's gonna be going on. And one of those things is this, and what I want my relationship to be with this, because I don't want to stop making videos. I don't think I can, but there are times where I'm just like, I have no motivation or energy to do any of this. So I think what I'm going to do, after talking to a couple of people, I think what I'm going to do is sit back and only put out videos for things that I'm very excited to talk about. I'm not going to be doing the typical standard YouTube stuff, at least for the foreseeable future. No wrap-ups, no TBRs, tags. All that, as I said, is going to be moved over to my Tumblr, blog, thingy, whatever, if you want to interact with that. But I think in order for me to be excited about what I'm making and be excited about being part of this community again, I need to just do what excites me. I don't necessarily know what that's going to be yet, but I do have, as I said, some ideas percolating in my mind. I'm not for a lack of ideas. It's just the lack of interaction with those kinds of videos. So we're working on it. But we'll see where this goes, but yeah, we're working on it. And one other thing that I should mention is I've almost made a decision about what I'm doing with my Twitter. I am currently leaning towards getting rid of it. I don't really get much interaction with people over there, and the little I do is just, it's just unsatisfying being over there. So I'm just probably going to delete it, because I just don't get much enjoyment about being over there. I actually find book Twitter and just Twitter in general to be a cesspool of toxicity, and I do not want that, because it just adds to the stress and just mental exhaustion of everything. So what I have instead, because I know a lot of people have been migrating towards that anyway, I have created a Discord account, and I'm fairly active on there. So if you do want to add me over there, you're welcome to do that. So probably by the time this video goes up, I will have already decided what I'm doing with my Twitter, and if not, shortly after that, I will have decided. But odds are I'm going to get rid of it, because it's just not something that I am enjoying, at least for right now. But I do still have my Goodreads. That's not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. And I'm also part of the Storygraph, which is very similar to Goodreads, only it's not owned by Amazon. And it's a really great place. I'm really loving what they've done with it. There's a free version and there's a premium version. I still only have the free version. But like, if you're really into stats, it has a lot of really great stats, like statistics breakdowns. And then it's got this recommendations algorithm that is personalized to your tastes. So like, let's say like you have like, there's a specific spot on there, and you like type in all of the things that you like, the tropes or, you know, types of books that you love. well, once they do that, then they will generate a personalized list for you. It's really, really awesome. So I love that. They have the ability to have half stars and quarter stars if you want. And they have places for you to enter triggers for specific books as you're reviewing them. It's just a really great place. And there is a common misconception about the Storygraph that it is basically like a social media version, like a social media site for like book recommendations and whatnot. It's not. It has that aspect if you choose it, but it is not by any means a requirement, and you don't even have to see the social media aspect of it if you don't want to. Like it's in a separate tab, and like you can click on it and like see everyone in the community's thoughts and feelings on books and things. And then like if you have like specific friends or people that you follow, you can see that. But it's not by any means a social media site. Like that is something they adamantly did not want to do. And also, it is run by people of color and women, and it's just a really, really great site, and I'm really enjoying it. The only thing I wish they had that they don't yet, I don't know if they're going to or not, is like a separate shelves thing. Like I know they have like a tagging system, which I haven't utilized yet, so I wonder if that will do something. But you know how like on Goodreads you can create like different shelves for different things. They don't quite have something like that, but everything else is just phenomenal, and I would absolutely recommend checking it out if you haven't already. It's free, so like even if you just want to check it out and see, you can, check it out, and then like if you don't like it, then you can just, delete your account really easily. But one thing that I also really love is you can import your Goodreads into the Storygraph, and then it'll just all be there. Like everything that you had from Goodreads will be imported into your Storygraph. So yeah, it's a really great site. I'm really enjoying it so far. But I do still have my Goodreads too, because I have my shelving system breakdown, and then I've also started using Notion, which I love. I've been trying to find a good way to book inventory for so long, and I think I finally figured it out, because last year I was doing it analog, and that was just getting to be a bit tedious and just difficult across the board. And then I saw a couple of different YouTubers talking about Notion and using that, and I'm like, wait, that's ringing some bells. Like I definitely have heard about that before. I think I even created an account, which I did, but then never used it. And then once I watched like their videos a little bit more, I just started to dig a little bit deeper, and then I just transferred everything over, and it's an incredible tool. I love it, and I love how I've got everything set up and organized. It's just it's really working for me, so I'm very excited about all of that. And yes, so that's just a long tangent to say that I still have Goodreads, I still have the Storygraph, and now I have Notion, and then of course I have my Tumblr, and so those are all linked down below in the description if you want to check all of that out. So anyway, that's everything that I've got for today. So just to brief recap, I am going to be a lot more relaxed with my reading and my readathon participation, and just participate in certain kinds of buddy reads to just try and recapture my joy of reading again and figure out what my interaction in the community is going to be. I've also got a Tumblr blog where I've been posting fun bookish content while also doing things like tags and recommendations and TBRs if I am participating in any readathons. And I am also going to be putting my reviews for the year over there as well. And then I am also going to be, if I do wrap-ups of some kind, they'll also be over there as well. So most of my action will be over there. If you want to check that out, it's all linked down below, and then you can come like interact with me over here, or as I said, Discord, or any of that. But other than that, as I mentioned, I have all of my social media links down below in the description. I have my Discord, Tumblr, Goodreads, and Storygraph all linked down below. And other than that, you all know the drill. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment if you're so inclined. But other than that, I'll catch you later in another video for you guys soon. Bye!